Let's focus now on some of the developments within the West Africa sub-region, because the Ghanaian community in Niger are indicating to Joy News that they feel threatened over some reprisal attacks if West Africa regional body ECOWAS decides to go ahead to deploy a military force into the French-speaking country. That's because that's what they've been told within Niger. Now, presidential guards, as we understand last week, deposed the democratically elected Mohamed Bazoum, who was then president, now deposed, and that's prompting wide condemnation from West African leaders who have issued a week's ultimatum to the military junta to hand over power, or they'll be deploying a military force to restore order from now until the 4th of August. The ECOWAS Chiefs of Defence staff, they are meeting and holding an extraordinary meeting on the political situation in the Republic of Niger. And the president of the Ghanaian community has been indicating to us that many of them have been told by the Ghanaian High Commission there that although they can go about their daily activities, they would have to be warned of a possible reprisal if things do not go well. And ECOWAS, as we understand, may have to deploy a team there. They have also been warned by some residents that if the ECOWAS team goes ahead, they may face reprisals. But a security analyst and a consultant to the African Union, Colonel Festus Abonji, retired, is not enthused about the decision of the use of force to restore constitutional order in Niger. He's been questioning why the heads of states over the weekend decided at the ECOWAS summit to go ahead with the deployment without consulting their military chiefs.
Niger, like Burkina Faso, like Mali, have since about 2012 been under the scourge of terrorism. And the risk is that if we're not very careful and we unhinge stability in Niger, it will have repercussions for regional security. The effort that the G5 Sahel countries, which includes Niger and Burkina Faso and Mali, are pulled together to try and stem the tide of jihadist threat of terrorism, will come under strain. Already we know that our Western partners, for geopolitical reasons, have left Mali and have left Burkina Faso and are now in Niger. Well, they could have issued that statement strictly as a strategy to intimidate the coup leaders in Niger. The threat of the use of force is a strategy. Now, beyond that, you need now to calculate whether ECOWAS has the capabilities to actually project force into Niger. And this is where I started my statement by wondering whether the respective chiefs of security forces in the 15 or so, of course, let's take out Mali, Burkina Faso, Guinea, and Niger. We may be left with about 11 or 12. Whether these 12 countries have consulted their chiefs of the defense staff.
Right. Before even taking the major decision.
Yes, that has to be the case. In all democracies, unless you are an autocrat or we are in an autocracy, you need to find out from your military. First of all, you intimate them with the political strategic objectives that you have. Then you ask them to give you an appraisal of whether indeed they can carry out can achieve that objective and how they may be able to do it and what they may require. Now, I have my doubts because in 1991 we went to Liberia. Remember, almost every country in West Africa was under a military rule. There were no parliaments, there were no legislatures.
Right.
So it was a matter of decreeing that Nigerian forces, Ghana forces, or Ghanaian forces, and so on, were going to Liberia. And so I would like us to go back to 2011. In 2011, in two countries in Africa, first in, let's say, February, March, in Libya, France, as part of NATO, spearheaded the demise of Gaddafi. the rest of the implications and the consequences is what we are seeing now. Then back in Cote d'Ivoire, close by, purely to get rid of Gbagbo, who had anti-French sentiments and so on, France actually was the actor that arrested Gbagbo, not the Ivorian forces. And what is the commonality or the lowest common denominator among these three countries, Libya, Cote d'Ivoire, and Niger? In Cote d'Ivoire and Libya, it's about oil, or it was about oil. In Niger, it is about uranium. They are all within the broad category of natural resources that France needs to lay its hands on. Otherwise, why would France not have acted or issued the kind of threats that it is issuing now against Niger, against Mali, against Guinea, against Burkina Faso? Why against Niger? And that is the worry that I have, that ECOWAS must be careful that it doesn't play into the hands of Western interests. Look, the situation in Niger is a political crisis. It is a constitutional crisis. It is very different, as I said, from Liberia, which was an invasion led by Charles Taylor's NPFL. The two are not the same. And I cannot see how anybody would deploy a force unless America go into Grenada. You don't deploy a force to go and reinstate so-called democratically elected government. When in the instances that we have, or we have had in this continent and in this sub-region, the unconstitutionalism have actually started with civilian leaders. That is the narrative in Cote d'Ivoire, and we turn a blind eye to that. That was the narrative in Togo 2015. We turned a blind eye to that. A few weeks ago, we knew what was about to happen in Senegal. ECOWAS never saber rattled until probably through other back channels, they got President Macky Sall to rescind or retract. If ECOWAS indeed wants stability in this sub-region, it must first ensure that there is democratic accountability. Then there will be no reason or raison d'etre for any man in uniform to go and overthrow a democratically elected government. Let me make this point, and maybe I'll give the floor to Professor.
Yes.
Now, when we say we are deploying a force, and we know that besides the natural resources, which is the commonality among these three, the four former French territories, which have now succumbed to coups, are, with the exception of Guinea, three of them are under the threat of jihad terrorism. No African or West African country thought it wise to follow the example of Rwanda and deploy its own national forces to go and assist these countries to combat terrorism. So when they come under pressure and the military takes over, because by and large the military are the ones who are the front line, they are the ones who die. If there is corruption and ammunition doesn't reach them, and you can't rule out corruption in Niger.
Colonel retired Festus Abuaji speaking to me last night on Connect Africa. As we speak, the Chief of Defence Staff for West African countries are meeting in Abuja. That's been confirmed by ECOWAS a couple of hours ago. We can just bring you excerpts of what it is that ECOWAS has posted on Facebook, indicating that the Economic Community of West African States, the Committee of Chiefs of Defence Staff, are holding an extraordinary meeting on the political situation in the Republic of Niger. The Committee of Chiefs of Defence Staff, that's CCDS of the Economic Community of West African States, will meet in Abuja. That's happening from today to the 4th of August 2023 on the political situation in the French-speaking country. The CCDS is meeting following the decision by the authority of ECOWAS heads of state and government at the extraordinary session held on the 30th of July in Abuja. That was last Sunday, and part of the decision clearly was that there will be a deployment of the military force into Niger within a week if the military junta there does not hand over power to the elected President Mohamed Bazoum. Is this feasible? Dr. Ladislav Prosper, is president of the Pan-African Business Forum. He is joining us in studio to have a conversation on this. It's good to see you.
Good to see you.
This is not a good time for West Africa. Many have argued, looking at the growing nature of political instability and the nature where we see the military gradually taking over center stage in terms of governance across West Africa. What's your own diagnosis of the problem? Many say it's simply an anti-French sentiment that's on the rise. Do you share the same view?
I think let us go back to the contents, and I would like to, if you allow me, to bring in some kind of few elements.
Right. What
is happening at the moment? Last year, I wrote to President Biden. I have a discussion with his administration, and I did mention to him that the so-called democratically elected governments are becoming worse than military regimes. And he should organize some kind of, I wrote to him, I said he must organize some kind of a summit with all those military people in Washington where they will have a discussion. And he have to listen to them and exactly understand what is happening. Because the context of West Africa today, what is happening, is in three forms. The first one is the civilians becoming worse than the government. The civilians are the democratic elected governments have become problem to their own people. That's a very difficult issue. And the functionality of the army is to restore law and order.
Yeah.
And that is what they have been doing so far. That's what is happening. There's nothing else. It's not like 1960 before where people just make coup. In each country, all the countries we saw in Guinea, in Mali,
yes.
and is that the military people came in to restore law and order.
But is that really the alternative? The fact that we know that it's a democracy. Wait until the next election season. Why are the military chiefs being impatient in these countries?
You see, the problem is that when you are that's why we have police stations.
Yeah.
Police station is to regulate the civilians. And the army's job is to regulate peace and order in a country. Sometimes coup d'etat are justifiable. They are necessary sometimes. It's like when you have diabetic and you don't threaten it, you cut your leg. Sometimes some of the coup are justified. You know, the issue of, to go back to the real context of where we are, if you look at Niger, there are three problems there. The first problem was that the election was not accepted by the majority of Niger people. The second issue is that there is an issue of Bazoum not being from Niger. He's from Libya.
That's the claim.
That's a claim. That's a claim.
Yes.
We are not saying that,
Yes,
but
right.
it is a claim, is there. The third one is the fight with the jihadis, which is a real problem for these people. You see, when ECOWAS, through some of these, there's these civilians, head of state in West Africa today, apart from we have Ghana, Nigeria to some extent, some of them are not legitimate. You understand? Because they use the ground of democracy to make their countries unconstitutional. And you look at even Benin, the president there is not today. He created his own parliament. He did election where he put everybody in jail. Why do you think that army will keep them? He's the next. They will remove him soon.
Well, that's your claim. You are Benin. So you have privileged advantage of what's happening there.
But in the context of Niger, we need to be careful to tell the ECOWAS people to be very careful. Because attacking the military people, because they are responding to the will of the people of their country.
Right.
And there's a sentiment of the French people. Now, if they are going there, they are going to defend the interests of Europeans. So the fight they are going to do today, if they go and attack the Niger people is going to defend, to protect the interests of the French people. What is the other ECOWAS people are going to gain from this thing? What are they going to do?
So you agree that this is some sort of a rising anti-French sentiment? Is that the case?
No, but
because all the countries, just look at the countries, Mali,
of course,
Burkina Faso, Niger, almost all of them, and the French
I agree with you
somewhat,
to some extent, because sometimes people exaggerate in terms of the French sentiment. But the French people also need to start having a dialogue with the African people. They need to start having a discussion. You cannot have a country where you have uranium you have a goal, you have a lot of things, and the people are still under poverty. What are you doing for these people? This is a question which, as a Pan-Africanist, we need to have a serious discussions. And the people don't look at that. People say, no coup, we are going to attack them. Niger is the second in a UMOA, in our Francophone CFA. Yeah. After Ivory Coast, Niger is the biggest economy.
Really?
In terms of, yes, you must check. They are the biggest economy. And however, they are more poorer in Niger than Benin. You understand? The people are more poorer in Niger than Benin, right. Even more poorer than Togo. But their minerals is feeding many huge economy in the world. How can that country? So we need to have a different kind of dialogue with our partners. Yeah. I'm not in a sentiment to say that we cannot live without the Western powers. Right. We have to work with them. But they also need to come to the table and negotiate with us, not to use our own brothers to fight us like what is going to happen in Abuja. Let me tell you something.
Yes, the meeting going on.
The meeting is not going to happen. I'm just informing you.
Really?
Remember I told you here that if we don't go to France to solve the problem of Sudan, nothing will happen.
Yes.
Where are we today? All the discussion, it went. Right. What they are trying to do, we must be worried. Some of us in Ghana, Benin, Togo, we must be worried. Because you must know the belt of Sudan, from Chad, through Libya, Algeria, to Guinea. They are looking for something. And you are going to give them, because even the north of Nigeria is not stable.
Yeah.
How dare you are to go back and go and fight in that place there? We haven't finished with the Libya crisis. And we are still dealing with, and it was the Libya crisis who caused the problem of jihadists. Many arms in the air. Now you are giving opportunity to the other foreign partners to come in with arms in our area.
The impression we're getting is this is solely a West Africa on ECOWAS decision. At least we didn't see the presence of any of the foreign elements when the heads of states were meeting on Sunday. But
if you look at their budget, still some of the West African countries' budget is deficit. Yeah. They don't have enough money for their army. Right. How can they go now today, all of a sudden, they want to fight in Niger? It's a joke. They don't have enough, even they are still borrowing, asking for money to support them to have. Now they want to spend it to go, and who is going to give them the fuel? Because, when you start to go and back into a fight, you need to have research. That's what happened in Sudan. Some people, they were tired. Yeah. You can't sustain. It's not more like 20 years ago during a Gaddafi time when they took Gaddafi, Gbagbo. It's not going to be an easy stuff because Mali is well equipped. Mm-hmm. The last 2 weeks, I have intelligence. Yeah. The equipment in Niger today is a 3 times the equipment of Benin and Togo together. Really? So you cannot wake up. Even Nigerians, I think the Nigerians are more wiser, intelligent. The Senate will not allow such things to happen. The first thing we need to do and look for a way of a dialogue before any confrontation. Dialogue must be a thing to do. We need to bring a third party, like Saudi or UAE, to come and play the role because credibility.
You don't feel it should be from either the West or the East?
No. When I mention an external partner, it's to come and fit the bill. You understand me? Okay. Because we don't have that kind of bill. Nigeria, they have the new president. He's battling. He just stopped the subsidiaries. Yeah. Why? To carve on his deficit. Yeah. Where are you going to get the money to finance again a fight with your military?
Yeah, the statement we've received from the military rulers in Burkina Faso and Mali, right? They've issued a statement warning ECOWAS, for instance. We've not seen that in a long while. Do you feel that it's because of the kind of backing they are getting? At least our president is giving us a clue that the Wagner group and the Russian influence appears to be giving some strength to this military or dictatorship regimes that
I don't have enough information about Wagner people. But what I know is that what is happening, if ECOWAS ever try to intervene in Niger, there will be external invisible forces which will be part of that war because the cake is big over there.
So it may become war?
Even if they win, imagine that they are they overtake them. You see, it's what happened after war. How do you manage insurgents? How do you manage the stability of that region? Already we are dealing with Boko Haram.
Yeah.
The instability of Chad has not been solved so far till today. We have the Sahel issue. We have Burkina Faso. Why do you want to increase it? You cannot sustain it. You cannot sustain it because it is issue in West Africa. We want peace. We want dialogue. We don't want forces. The one who is talking about forces, sorry to say it, I'm in a wrong position to say it. The president of Benin, I don't know, he has never done anything. He doesn't understand ECOWAS very well. He's talking through his mind. He doesn't understand. Did you hear from Ghana? The president say something like that. Did you see Ghana come openly? Not that because Ghana cannot do anything. They are the second biggest armed forces in the region, but they manage their way of speaking, making statements and everything. It is important as we speak now that there must be a dialogue. They must engage again with these people and convince them. They must find a emissary to send. I mean, Ghana is well accepted in the region. Yeah. Niger everywhere. Ghana is like the country everybody respected. So if Chad is going there, nothing is going to solve. You have to find somebody to have a discussion with them. Because what we are going through today, all these chief of staff who are there, some of them are going to be, in a couple of weeks' time, president in some few countries in Africa.
Oh,
right,
really?
Somewhere, yes. Some of them. Because the intelligence in West Africa is not more the issue of the military people. I told President Biden, it is the issue of the democracy, which become a tool of dictatorship of semi-Arab people.
Okay. Control and all of that. And that's why I want to bring in the conversation around term limits. Our President Akufo-Addo, raised that concern some time ago. I recall when he was chairing ECOWAS, pushing the leaders to institute the 2-term limit within West Africa. He called for a 2-term limit where you go once, you go the second, and then that will be the end of it. But the heads of state did not buy into that. We're going into a series of elections that may be happening, I think, starting from late this year into next year. Senegal, it's a complete disaster as we speak. A lot happening there. I think Benin is also coming really strongly. So we need to handle this really carefully. The term limit, should we go for that?
The problem with the term limit, you see, what's happening in Niger, for instance. Let me take Niger before I come to Benin.
Okay.
Niger is an extension of Tetem.
Okay.
Bazoum was the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Issoufou.
Right. Yes.
So I'm not there. I'm not in charge of the election. But it was forced for the wing to do the Tetem, and they had change. But it's the same machinery. The country needs a alternative government. To showcase a new governance, new program for them, not the same people. Not the same people. Right. So what we are looking at, you see, in the case of Benin, for instance, the guy put everybody aside. Yes. He didn't allow them. He created his own parties. He put the candidates in prison. So if the military come and remove him, are you going to say that is unconstitutional, what the military did? The candidate, all of them are in prison. There's no issue with them. And the military people who come and said, but it's unconstitutional to remove this guy. I told President Biden that these are the real problem he needs to tackle. Because the real issue is not more the army, it is the civilians. In Sudan, who caused the problem? The Prime Minister who was there before, he doesn't want to see the army people. He was doing this on his own. The people got angry. We have confusion. Where are we today? There must be a discussion with these army people.
And you were talking about Benin?
Yeah, I was talking about Benin is a fragile. You know, Benin today, if we look at Benin today, is a dictatorship. It is run by one man. And I don't know, but I just know that ECOWAS is aware that what is wrong if what's happened in Niger happened in Benin. People are going to say, it's unconstitutional. This guy went to the parliamentary, he put his own people. He created the party, he put his own people. Election, he stopped everybody to go to election. Only him alone. And he said, he created law. He said, if you are a candidate, you need to have 37 members of the parliament to approve you. And you have to put more than 500,000 US dollars. Is it not dictatorship? Is it not more than army? So if you do something like that, and this is a country where the president is involved in drugs,
but these are your claims. So we don't have the evidence right now.
It's written there, but if you look at...
To prove that.
Okay, let's put that one aside.
Yes.
All the economy in a country is run by one person.
Yes.
That's why he's running up and down to Nigeria, up and down. We cannot see any fight in Niger. We want peace and stability over there. And most importantly, I'm calling upon the President, Nana Addo, to intervene to stop this issue of intervention, because it's not going to be easy.
Why do you feel that our president will be listened to? He was there on Sunday. He had every opportunity to make an objection or a statement. He failed to.
I'll tell you something. You see, President Nana Addo is one of the acclaimed great leader today by excellence in the continent. And you don't come into a meeting where people have agenda and you start stopping them. You let them lead it to a point where you can bring your... Maybe I may be wrong, but I just know that Nana is one of the greatest wise president. He cannot just come into...
And throw his weight about?
And throw it weight about, but he's observing. Maybe he may come with his wisdom when the time arrives. Because I think President Nana Addo is of a peace. Stability, not a force.
Okay, but why is the approach changing now for Niger? That's the question, because I recall when Ghana was sharing the ECOWAS, the approach towards Mali and Guinea, for instance, was different. Now we have President Tinubu of Nigeria. But he says, well, it's going to be zero tolerance for coup d'etats in West Africa. In the next minute, that's happening, and he says, "Okay, let's use force to resolve the problem." Is it Tinubu's problem?
But I know Tinubu very well. He's a great man. I think he's been ill-advised, and when you come to power, you don't take those kind of statements. If people come to you, especially your neighboring, throwing their weight around you to say things. I think he's going to learn from this, because this statement of a coup is not going to work. Either he will be busy dealing with Boko Haram. Buhari came, said he was going to fight with Boko Haram. He couldn't deal with it. You understand me? You have a problem of a budget deficit. You need to rebuild the country. You need to focus on it. The issue we are facing now with Niger, why they changed the game? That is where we should ask the question of those chief of army. Who are you defending? What is the question? Who they are defending is mostly the Europeans. Europeans. Interest. Who have the biggest interest over there? Is a uranium. Chinese company.
France.
France. That is the issue. So who are you? Are you defending the people of Niger? Or what is this? What you have to? That is the question we need to ask ourselves. Why they didn't go to the other country to do the same thing? We need to sit down as Africans, because now the Pan-Africanism is growing in our continent. Anybody coming to our continent need to have a different kind of a discussion with us. We are not going to have a hatred discussion with these people, but we want them to come on the table with us, have a one-on-one discussion, beneficiation from all parties. But you cannot impose your will on us.
Okay, let's look at the business interests that will be affected as we speak. At least I can tell you about the Ghanaian example. The fact that even some produce, local produce, for instance, you take a look at onions, for instance. We're just talking about that on the channel a couple of days ago. That will be affected in terms of supply. That will threaten food security, obviously. Yes. Beyond that, what's the extent of business interest that will be affected as a result of what's happening in Niger?
Okay, there are three things which goes happen. I'm hearing, it's not yet confirmed. Niger just opened their borders with 5 countries: Libya, Algeria, Mali, Burkina Faso. They opened their Mauritania. What is going to happen is that you should know that through the port of Ghana, for instance, because it's indirect beneficiation. Through the port of Ghana, there's so much exports to Niger, to the other neighboring countries, Chad and other places. So it's going to be a big problem. That is the first thing. And second, you see the uranium is exported, and that is the biggest enemy of Niger, for electricity, for other reasons. So if we don't have that one, we are going to have a problem there. Even if it's going to affect the French people, their electricity is going to have a serious problem. The third one is the issue of insecurity. When there's insecurity, you cannot run a proper economy. The market cannot move. The instability in the region. How many trucks are we going to have here for onion, for food, for everything? Then we are going to have shortage because those people supply us in the land side here a lot of a food crop, and we are not going to have that. Who is going to give us supply? Yes. Where are we going to get it from? Already, Burkina Faso is going down. Now we are going to add a Niger to it. We cannot afford that. That's why we are saying that the issue of fight, who is bringing Azum there, is okay, but the problem is not going to be solved.
The Senegalese situation, we may be dealing with one problem in Niger, but then Senegal is also on fire. For now, we don't have internet access, as we're being told, so you cannot get too much information of what's happening there. But that's another crisis waiting to happen. Do we need something else, an intervention from outside the region to at least help?
You see,
where lies the influence of the AU and others?
But how many places this ECOWAS is going to go to intervene? They don't have that. They don't have the capacity. They can't do it.
Is it all about money?
But you see a drone and a helicopter.
Yes.
It costs even per hour. It costs money. But who is going to do it? Who is going to? If they destroy 4 for you. I know how each country battle to get fund for their peacekeeping cars, and you go and destroy 10 of them. Where are they going to get the money from? This is, to come back to the issue of Senegal. Yeah. This is a democratically elected president. He's behaving like a military person.
That's quite a harsh word for Macky Sall.
No, Macky Sall is supposed to, but if Macky Sall have opportunity to do dialogue with the people. I'm not in for the people of Senegal to destroy everything on the roadside. I'm moderate, you understand? Right. But you need to have a dialogue. You need to call the leaders of your country, the religious leaders, to sit down. Always, for us, from the Pan-African business perspective, we always want to have, to allow dialogue to prevail before forces. That's what wise people always talk about. You cannot just wake up within few days. You want to go and attack the people in Niger, which is going to be complete. It's not like Liberia. Right. It's not going to happen. Right. It's impossible. Right. They need to negotiate with them. And I'm sending this message to the President Tinubu that he must, on his own as a country, send a senior people from his country to the people of Niger and listen to them and bring them to talk to him as a father. Because he still have opportunity to make what the ECOWAS is losing. And we have confidence in him that he can lead this ECOWAS for the 1 year coming.
Look, we need to go. Any final words to even our viewers as well? There's so much tension here in the sub-region, I mean.
Yeah, I just want to tell the viewers that our region is going through a very serious difficulties. We shall overcome it. Niger is not the end. Some countries are going to go through the same situation till we find the Federation of African countries, Francophone, together, and then we will deal together with the Europeans. We want to work with them. We want to work with the French people. There's no sentiments against French, but we need to have a win-win situation whereby we can do it. And I believe in ECOWAS. I believe in wise people like President Nana to intervene that we don't have such issue of military action in Niger.
Dr. Ladislas Agbesi, thank you for joining us here on the Joy News channel. And for those of you who are watching us, you have to stay on the Joy News channel, because after that meeting with the ECOWAS military chiefs, we're bringing you an exclusive here on the Joy News channel, where we'll bring you an interaction with the ECOWAS commissioner in charge of the political commission there at ECOWAS. We'll definitely bring you that interaction on Upfront. You want to stay on the Joy News channel as we bring you that interview with Ambassador Fattah after the interaction in Abuja. Keep watching the space, but stay with us here on The Pulse. When we return, we'll also cross over to our partners, DW. But before then, you have that flyer on your screens now. In that interview we're expecting with Ambassador Abdel Fattah Musa. He's the Commissioner of Political Affairs for Peace and Security for the ECOWAS Commission. He's going to be speaking to us on a number of developments in the West Africa sub-region. You want to stay on the Joy News channel for that. When we get back, we'll take you to Germany. Please stay.